because I needed the knowledge. Nobody gave this to me. I had to do everything on my own. I got myself into the federal government.
Благослови моих братьев, благослови наши руки. Мы в поисках больших денег, мы в деле круглые сутки. Благослови
Out radio show, man, they everywhere.
Благослови моих братьев, благослови моих братьев, благослови наши руки. Мы в поисках больших денег, мы в деле круглые сутки. Благослови моих братьев, благослови моих братьев. Я скрутил себе потолще, я выдыхаю.
The best jam I have ever eaten.
Oh, wow.
I have that as a testimonial.
И не играй со мной свою роль. Со мной молодые братья. Мы возьмем котлеты наличных себе на завтрак. Сегодня-завтра, неважно как я. You, эй, yeah. Благослови моих братьев, благослови наши руки, мы в поисках больших.
Alright, y'all, we tuned in for another episode of Baked Out Radio Show. I am your host, Andreas, and to my left, to y'all's right, I have Miss Alisha D. Brown.
That's right.
Why did you choose to, use the middle initial?
Because I am me.
Okay, so it sets you apart and stuff
It sets me apart. And I'm me.
I like
So
that.
when you see my name, you will remember, the things that I've done. Nobody can walk in my shoes but me.
Yeah, I like that. So you do, let's see here, a lot.
I do.
You mentioned the pop-up. I had seen yourself though before then, which I thought, was cool because even in that moment, I was like, you know what, this name looks very, very familiar to me, and I know I've done something with this, but I was glad that, we got to do even that small interview so you can put your information out there. But your military background, so now you're helping people with your, is it more of a consulting business?
Yes.
Okay. With your consulting business with the resume building and teaching people how to get those federal jobs. The one, I think that's a very unique skill set that isn't talked about enough because, what was it, back in the day, people used to really big up on trying to get government type jobs.
Correct.
And you're helping people get federal jobs. And me as a business owner who's dealt with the feds, for 11 years, they dot every I, cross every single T,
That is
and
correct.
they milk those Fed dollars. Every single penny, boy. Nothing goes untouched. Nope.
Or unnoticed.
Or unnoticed. And they're really, into it. And they get So, tell us, what inspired you to actually, even start that?
Well, the biggest thing was during my federal career, I had a rotation through what they call staffing and recruitment. And sitting there looking at these resumes coming through, and you see, you see a lot of first person. I did this, or I'm responsible for this, and me, right? And not taking note at the time that the majority of these resumes that were coming through then were from transitioning military and veterans. And so, because that's my background, I said, okay, they need some knowledge. Because I needed the knowledge. Nobody gave this to me. I had to do everything on my own. I got myself into the federal government. So I took what I did not receive and I started playing with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first person. He was my guinea pig. He's my guinea pig at everything. So,
You know, as it should be.
when he was ready to get out, I got out in 2010. He got out of the military in 2013.
Okay.
And so I was in HR, just kind of making my rotations around, trying to figure out where I really wanted to be in HR. And so I said, babe, I got an idea, and I need you to help me. And so I said, it's going to incorporate your transition from the military to become a federal employee. And so I just started writing his resume, took all his experience, put it in proper form. I said, I want you to start applying for jobs. Let's see where this gets you. And the first job that he applied for was a GS-12 training instructor. And he received the interview. And most people think that, oh, the resume is supposed to get you the job. But no, the resume is just supposed to get you the interview invite.
Yeah, exactly.
So once you get the interview, my part is, you know, I know I'm golden now. So when that happened, I said, I'm working with some police now, baby. We good. He got a GS-12 straight out of the military. And then not a RIF. I can't even remember what it was called now. But we had a lack of funding in the government. And so the position went away. And so then we had to turn around and start doing everything all over again. And he ended up coming back in the federal, but not as a high grade. He came in as a GS-9, and then he worked his way up, and then he ended up leaving the federal. So I took that piece, that case study, and I turned it into, let me go out here and start putting this information out on Facebook. Let me start doing some live sessions. Let me start educating people on, you know, definitions that they may not know that's pertinent to the hiring process. And so I did all of that, and then word of mouth. It just happened, and then I said, well, when I moved to Georgia, I need to make this a thing. So that's when I officially made it into an LLC, and I just continued through it, and that was the start of what's now, you know, just from that one little thing of seeing those resumes not being properly written and speaking in first person. And some of them trying to use what I would consider to be the private sector format for a federal government job. It was lacking so many details. And so I said, yeah, it's a lot of things out here they're missing. So I just filled that void.
That's what's up. So is this your first like business? So, okay, so jumping out there and, you know, I know your husband supports and stuff like that, but, you know, when you share your dreams and your ambitions with others, what was the response that you was getting back?
Oh, man. Outside of, well, I'll say this, my biggest supporters have always been my husband, my mother, and my two best friends.
Okay.
Sharing that outside of my circle, you know, I didn't have a lot of support. It was, you sure? I said, well, no, but yeah. Well, how much money are you going to make? And I'm like, well, for me, it's not about the money. Money in business, to me, will come. My biggest thing was I need to help.
Yes.
Because the federal government is not a secrecy. You know, it was a secret when I came in. And I'm like, man, this is like a normal job. You just got to know the structure. You know, it's very equivalent to serving in the military. So I guess that's why I kind of acclimated the right way. But it's like, I didn't get a lot of support from people outside of my circle. And then I just stopped talking about it. You know, I just stopped telling people. Yeah,
I can see that, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this theory.
Yes.
Right. And the theory is that when you share your dreams and go after goals and stuff that you want to do, especially within an entrepreneurial type of manner, that other people, you're like a mirror to them. So they're not seeing you. They're seeing themselves and what they're not doing. And then they start to project.
Right.
Or immediately they'll project like, I don't know about that, and insecurities and stuff like that because it's unknown. And people fear the unknown.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with that. And now it's like, I've been in this officially since 2019, and the number of people that tell me I am such an inspiration to them, that's what keeps me going. Again, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these big top resume, corporation. I'm not somebody who went to school to learn this. This is things I learned being in the seat of the hiring official or of the HR specialist. So when I look at this, it's like, okay, well, I'm on the right track because I'm telling somebody else that there's life outside the military. You won't believe the amount of people that told me I would not be successful when I left the military.
Well, okay. Maybe somebody else, but now I can, yeah. So my experience of like being around entrepreneurs and stuff like this, so like I've been doing this full time since 2013.
Okay.
And part-time since 2005. So I've been around like a lot of people and heard a lot of stories, and it's not surprising to me the reactions that y'all have as individuals with people saying stuff like that, because again, people are conditioned, right, and when you break away from that mold, they don't understand that because they've been taught security lies within, this particular realm or this, this highway, this lane, whatever, however you want to paraphrase it. And they don't understand all this over here because there's like a whole lot of gray or whatever. It's not black and white.
Right.
And I tell people like success isn't like just black and white. There's a whole lot of gray to it. But as long as you stay consistent though, you'll see the results that you're looking for. And I think, people get caught up with like wanting stuff immediately happen and stuff like that, or even their own experiences. And we have to take into account, like, what's your makeup as a person? Like, what is your character? What do you tolerate? Like, how big do you want it?
Right.
And I post different stuff all the time. I tell folks, and sometimes it might come off as arrogant or whatever, offensive, but I was like, look, if you don't live, eat, and breathe your business, if it's not consumed by you, you're not ready for it yet.
And if you're not scared of the next move in your business, that's not what you should be doing. Like, you're not dreaming big enough.
Exactly.
You're not thinking outside the box. And that's one thing I kind of hone in for myself is I can't get tunnel vision. I have to remain flexible, but I also have to not fall into that complacent realm where, okay, yeah, I got 3 or 4 clients. And out of the 3 or 4, we'll say 3. Out of the 3, 2 of them were successful. I can't let that little 2 be like, oh yeah, you good, stay where you at. No, I gotta take that. I gotta build on it. I gotta take the lessons I learned from them and make it into something else so that it can work for the next client, because it's not a one-stop shop, this on the same level for every client that I come into contact with. So business is hard.
It is. Being
an entrepreneur is hard. And let me just say this. I'm not a 100% entrepreneur. I still do contract work. So the bulk of my bread does not come from just consulting. It comes from contract work. Consulting is just another thing. But if you give that scenario to, your average Joe, they still will not put in the work on their business because they get the bulk of their funds from contract work. Well, I'm doing both, because I still want to help people. There's still other people that have lifestyles that they want to live. And I'm a third believer that, yeah, you can go into the federal government. Why can't you? I'm not knocking the private sector, but I don't know the private sector because I wasn't a private sector employee. I know the federal government. So I tend to focus on building and trying to figure out how I can make things different, but yet it's the same and it's true to me and what I do and what I stand for.
That's what's up. So what would you say are some typical things like, I guess like informational freebies that you normally tell people when putting together those resumes and applying for those federal positions that, they shouldn't do? Because there's the do and don'ts of stuff.
I would definitely say my top 3 would be don't restrict your amount of experience.
Okay.
Meaning the federal government doesn't have a minimum or maximum amount of page numbers that you can use for your resume.
Okay.
Whereas in the private sector, they try to tell you 1.5, or 2 pages, right? We can't do nothing but that in the federal.
Yeah.
Our
like I said, very detailed.
Right. That application process is extremely long, so you don't want to limit your experience, right? So page numbers would definitely be something I say don't focus on that. Just make sure you, tip number 2, answer all the questions and meet the need of the vacancy announcement. The one thing I like about the federal government announcements, they're broken down into sections. And so you can use the duties and responsibilities. You can even go and see the questionnaire before you start applying for the job, so that you're not wasting your time or their time. You can see what they're looking for. You know, these are things that people don't know. This is what I do. And then the last thing I would say is get rid of the words responsible for.
Okay, responsible for. Okay,
that is the most.
I was responsible for $100,000 budget.
Yes. Instead, just say budgeted $100,000 for whatever department it was, whatever company.
What about
tell
managed?
The result. Managed is good.
Okay.
But you don't want to over manage your resume either.
Okay.
You know, I'm very keen to using an abundance and an array of action verbs. So Google is my best friend.
Yeah.
I will go to Google. I will use thesaurus.com and I would say, okay, give me some action verbs that I can use for this specific career field. There's another tip.
Yeah.
And I would just pick some of those. But most importantly, go through the job vacancy announcement and pull out the action verbs that you see there. Put them in your resume. Most people say just copy and paste. We don't do plagiarizing over here.
No.
And you won't believe how many plagiarized resumes I've had to fix.
Ooh.
Very interesting. This reads just like what you would see on Indeed or what you would see on USA Jobs, So yeah, those would be my top 4.
Have you experienced where like someone plagiarized a resume and then so you bring them in for an interview and you start to talk to them and it's abundantly clear that this person does not speak this way?
Yes, and we kind of took that resume and moved right on over here to this pile and it ended up in the trash. Okay, I was notorious for that on the hiring panels. I would be the HR specialist on the hiring panels, and I had a real good relationship with all the hiring officials. We had 2 that came in, and it happened to be for the same position, so I think they kind of knew each other, and their resumes were very similar in nature. But one of them was, to the T, the job vacancy announcement with the questionnaire in it, right? So all they did was just take the questions, and they copied it, and they pasted it and put it over there. Didn't explain nothing, no numbers, no nothing. And as soon as now how they got the interview, don't ask.
Yeah.
That was another conversation I had with them. But at the end of that interview, not only did we tell that the person did not perform any of the need that they were looking for, but we also were able to tell that, you straight up plagiarized. You took everything from this and just put it into your resume and you submitted it, And so that caused for a big investigation, because with the federal government, it's not just the database that reads these resumes, it's actual people. So an actual HR person has to go through and vet these things. So we actually had to go back and kind of look at some things like, what happened. But yeah, those resumes end up in the trash real quick with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so with your services, I imagine, so you're helping to build resumes and things of that nature. Are you taking them through like a mock interview process and stuff too, or?
Yeah, so that's something that we do offer. And I say we because now my husband's on board now. He's gone through enough interviews himself to, educate. But I do have constituents that I keep, in my back pocket in case I do have a client that comes up and say, hey, I have an interview and I've never done an interview before. And I'll be like, okay, do you want the full, gamut of it, or do you just want a little taste? Because I can give you a taste. But if you want the full thing where it's panel fully loaded, we can do it virtual, we can do it in person. I do have a team of HR people that I reach out to and say, hey, you want to hop on a mock interview today? And we make it happen. So I feel like that gives people that level of comfort, that they don't have, or because it's the federal government, they may be a little, apprehensive to it. And I'm like, man, just calm down. You just having a conversation with somebody. You want to go in and you just want to be you, but you want to be the professional you.
Yeah. I was going to say, you have to, you got to sell what they're looking for.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've had some fun interviews when I, used to work for organizations and stuff. Never for the federal side, but like one side I worked for a loan company and I was interviewed by he was the vice president of the region or something. And one of the questions he asked me was like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And I said, sitting in your position. He loved it. I got hired that day.
That's right. Oh, you want my position? Okay, come on. Because I got 5 years left.
And then I interviewed for Norfolk Southern. And it was a very interesting company to work for. But what I can say during the hiring process, it was, they do the group hiring. So they got the whole panels and all that stuff. You go through these series of tests, knock the test out, cool. Then they start saying certain stuff to the group. Like, okay, if you can't pass a drug screen, don't even worry about, and people get up and walk out.
Yeah.
I went all the way through the entire day. It's like a whole day. And then I met the panel. It was like 5 of us. And it was each, one-on-one with the panel of, I think it was 5 or 6 of them. So, you're getting all these questions thrown at you with different people.
Right.
And I'm answering them stuff like that. And then this particular point, like, they know that on my resume, I get, like, I'm living in Macon and the job is in Atlanta. And it requires, like, flexibility with me getting there in enough time because it's logistics. And you have to be on time is to be there early, and to be there on time is to be late. So I definitely understood that or whatever. And I told them, like, if I do get the job, I do have plans to, like, relocate closer and stuff like that. To my surprise, out of 200-something folks, I was the only one who got hired. And I was put with another hiring class. So everyone who interviewed that day wasn't even part of that same hiring class.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty, as a confidence booster and stuff like that or whatever.
Absolutely.
I thought that was pretty cool. And the fact that I was in Macon and everybody else was in the surrounding metro Atlanta area. So I don't know what those other candidates did to eliminate themselves from even being considered, you know what I'm saying? Because like one HR people called me and were like, hey, come back up and do this drug test. And it's like conditional, you know what I'm saying? Once we get the results and stuff like that, we can offer you a position based off of the results of the drug test. And like, they cut your underarm hair and
Well, they did the hair strand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't run away from that.
No, you can't. You cannot.
Nope.
So I was like, yeah. But on the side note, I've never experienced a company where they put so much into hiring you, but then they also turn around putting a lot of energy into like getting rid of folks.
Yes.
Because it was military. It was a union versus we call them company. The company officials and the union people, and I was part of the union. And like after my 90-day probationary period or whatever, I'm locked into the union. I'm paying dues and all that stuff. You can't just fire me.
Right.
Even for like job performance, you have to go through this whole procedure.
Correct. You protected.
Yeah, you're protected. Which I've never had a union job, and that experience was like really cool as far as understanding how unions work, and I see the benefit of them. But I also see where people get complacent too, though.
Correct.
So it's like, you got this delicate balance.
Right.
But
That's
yeah,
a good way to say that. A delicate
it
balance.
is very,
Yes.
because, and I know this is a little off topic, but based off of the representatives of the union and the representatives of the company, how they get along will determine how the workforce swings.
Right.
It's a pendulum. It's always constantly swinging, and you don't want it to swing too far right.
Right.
You don't want it to swing too far left. You want to hit the sweet spot in the middle.
Right.
And politics and all that stuff aside, I'm like, it really interferes with like work productivity and stuff like that. And it had got to the point to where I ran as during my tenure there, I ran as the president for my local union.
Okay.
And I won. And like I beat everybody else who ran by like twice the amount of votes.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, it was, like I say, it was a good experience and stuff, but, entrepreneur at heart. So, I was like, you know what, I can't hang on to this or whatever. I got to go and, my aspirations and what I want to do with life.
Right.
See,
that's the other side of my expertise in HR. Although I started my business from the hiring perspective, right? Helping people get in, but on a 9 to 5, as people would say, I was actually the representative for management. So as you were the union official, I was the one that would talk on behalf of management and represent the agency. So, the big thing with that a lot of people tend to miss, that's the most delicate relationship in any organization, in any unionized organization, is between that union rep, the president, and all the management officials. Not just one management official, but all of them at each level. Because that first level supervisor may be brand new, may not want to read that contract, and may be straight off the street and come in and treat their employees any type of way. And this is what caused the distrust. This is what caused the turnover, the high turnover rate. This is where the fair and equitable treatment goes away when you have those type of supervisors. But if they learn to, and I say they, I mean the union officials and the management team, learn to sit down and talk and really abide by the contract, the collective bargaining agreement, then they can see, okay, you know what? We're really here for the same thing. We just stand on two opposite sides of the table.
Yeah, but we're at the same table, though.
We're at the same table, and we're supposed to be here for the same reason. So how can we get through this? And that's what makes organizations successful. But you have so many management officials and that politic thing, that stray away from the union. And I'm like, sometimes the union can be beneficial. Sometimes.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you approach them. But, to just go in and just kind of really negate the union, or the union negates management.
Yeah, when you have, exactly, when you're budding all the time, it's a hostile work environment. Nobody really cares about the actual job that you're supposed to be doing and the quality of how you're supposed to do that job. But when you have representatives and they're coming to the table, like you said, they're going off that contract.
Yep.
And there was some stuff in our contract that we were allowed to do that we didn't even, because first of all, I had to advocate for us getting our contract in, paper.
Okay.
And I'm like, it was thick. And there was a lot of things that we could do as a union. That, you get paid for X amount, or if they want you to go to this particular location, Atlanta is our home terminal. You go to Tucker, Georgia, you get compensated not only for your mileage and stuff like that, but also, difference in pay and stuff like that. All this other different stuff that I'm like, we didn't negotiate these contracts as higher ups. Right. But we,
you got to implement it.
You got to implement it.
That's right.
And when it comes to like just certain stuff, whatever, and there's certain rights that we got to exercise, and I learned that contract really well.
Yes.
And
you must. My contract was tabbed, highlighted. I had different color tabs because it was so many different positions, So some areas of the contract touched on different positions. And, you know, the one thing that I would say, and I know that this is like so not what we're here to talk about,
Yeah.
but since we're talking about it, I have to say this. Employees have to understand that, yes, you as the employee have certain rights, right? But when you are in a bargaining unit, the rights that are in that collective bargaining agreement are for the position. So if you come out of that position, you know,
lose
and you're no
all,
longer in the bargaining unit, you don't have these rights. It's the position. And so trying to explain that to employees, you know, you have, you know, your Title VII, you got all those at the federal level, you know, that are out there for you, but that CBA should be your Bible. As an employee, as the union official, as the management official, like you should know those articles in there. And I'm laughing because I'm supporting a company now and they're getting ready to go through CBA negotiations. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But these types of things, you know, these types of conversations are what we as the HR specialists in labor and employee relations try to put out to management. Make your job easy. You know what I'm saying? Make it easy. Don't work against 9 times out of 10, the union officials are employees of the company. So why would you want to work against them?
It is, and like, you know, so like they were penalizing. They were like, you know, I made some mistakes and stuff and cost the company some money. And, you know, I wasn't reprimanded as far as like, you know, I wasn't fired. Or whatever, but it did affect performance and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, but once, you know, you really start to understand it's way bigger than you.
Yes.
And you get outside yourself. I'm like, there's some moves you can make when you learn, you know what I'm saying, the lingo and stuff like that, and you learn what's available.
Right.
But you know, we had some managers that, you know, straight off the street, like you said, come in, they disrupt the entire system.
They will tear your flow up so quick.
And they didn't get the older managers. Great relationships with them. We used to call them our assistant. They were our assistant managers, and it was like the pit because we had the whole floor. So the pit was in the middle. And you have 4 assistant managers working every shift, or 2 when they didn't have the capabilities. Like during the day, 4, and at nighttime it's only 2. Because there's certain stuff we couldn't do within the system without their approval.
Right.
And you know, we sitting there telling them how to, you know what I'm saying, this is what you got to do to do our job and blah blah blah. And when them new ones come in, oh, it was just hell.
I bet.
Yeah, all the veteran us. Because we knew our jobs like the back of our head. Like, look, we just needed to punch in such and such override, blah blah blah. Put your initials on it so I can get this thing going. So therefore, this train won't be late because late trains cost millions of dollars.
I bet.
Like some of the trains I used to call or whatever, they'd be $24 million trains. About time, they go from point A to like, let's say, somewhere in Ohio all the way to Norfolk, Virginia. You know, every stop along the way, it's money. And if it ain't running on time, Norfolk Southern gets penalized because that freight that they're moving to these like power companies, coal and stuff like that, or whatever raw materials, those companies need to be able to keep their stuff going to their customers.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it can, and someone having like a little attitude or whatever because they straight out the street and they don't understand these contracts and blah blah blah, and you got to work within these confines. Yeah, it was a lot.
It would disrupt the production of work.
It was, and it did. So yeah, so okay, let's get back to yours, which I love this side topic.
Right.
So what are you planning on like doing in the future, and like how do you envision growing your business?
So it's interesting that you asked that. So this year is the year of no more resume writing.
Okay.
So I will do resume reviews. I will do the comprehensive resume analysis, which is my business signature service. But as far as writing resumes, I'm done.
Okay.
So now I'm morphing into where we're focused on a whole concept of the person developing in their career 100%. So this is from the aspect of career planning.
Okay.
With still the focus being with transition military and veterans, because we do so much in the military. that when we're ready to get out, it's hard for us to kind of hone in on one skill set and build on that. Sometimes it's kind of hard to say, I really want to be in this field, but I really like doing this one.
Yeah.
So I want to come from a point of where what matches your personality.
Gotcha.
Because the 18-year-old you when you came in the military is not the same 30, 45-year-old coming out of the military now. So your personality has changed. Some things that you would tolerated then, you may not now. So I would like for you to focus on things that are beneficial to your personality. So I'm looking at more so of career assessments, career planning. I want to hone in on some of those things that are just not talked about. Helping more so with solidifying a transition plan. And just coming from the place of, you can do more than what you actually did in the military. You just gotta know where to go. You gotta know if you need more training, if you need a specific certification, if there's a degree that you may actually need for that career field. So these are the things that I'm focusing on now. Still on top of the interview preparation. And then we're also taking it to another level where I'm helping employees do those professional responses to workplace situations.
I love it.
So that is like, oh my gosh.
I love the little sketches stuff I hear people say, like, how do I professionally say?
Yes. I call it Olivia Popin people. I am notorious for that. So, I'm me all day long. But when I'm in the setting, when I need to get my point across, I have a very different way of addressing things.
Can you give us an example off the top?
So somebody came into work and they may not have been smelling up to par. Okay. And an employee, got mad about it. May have cussed them out a little bit. Wanted to take it and, tell their supervisor about it. So instead of you saying, hey, they stink, they need to go take a shower, a more professional way would be like, okay, this morning, you want to capture the details. On this date, at this time, such and such employee arrived to the office. They were not they may have had a foul smell to them, which therefore irritated some of my senses, or it made it to where I could not properly do my work for the day.
Function, because olfactory bulb and stuff like that.
Correct.
You don't realize.
And these are things that are actually true, but you have to know how to make it sound professional and not you just being an ass. So when you say those types of things and you are putting it in writing, you want that to reflect you. Because when they look at me like, oh, she just mad. She's like, no, I'm not mad. I can't professionally operate. I can't produce work because every time I look up and I take a sniff, I want some fresh air, I'm not getting fresh air. So what y'all gonna do about this? What is the policy behind this? And I'm really big on policies. So if there is a hygiene policy or a dress code policy, incorporate some of the language from those policies into your notification to management. So the only reason why I know that is something that I'm really good at is because when I've done it before, plenty of times. I'm not gonna say once. I've done it plenty of times. I'm a ghostwriter for management. I respond to things that they don't really want to respond to, or they may not have the skill set to respond to. So I draft responses, but I've also assisted employees do the same before, and so I feel like that is also a part of career development because you may have your theory, your thoughts. You may not know how to properly articulate those in writing. And so that's where I want to come in and help you grow professionally. Everybody looks at the way you talk and the way you write. And they take that and they assume that that's how you operate. So keep that in mind. If you want somebody to view you as a professional, you have to give them a reason why. And everything in writing, that is traceable. It can be tracked. So when you put things in writing, just remember that they can be pulled up later. How do you want them to think that you are?
Yeah.
That's where I come from with that. So those are the things that I'm taking the avenue I'm taking my business into now. It was fun writing resumes, but I'm not gonna lie to you. It was very depressing when I knew that the resume was golden and that person did not get an interview. And there were several times where I said, you know, I'm done. I was about to dissolve my business 100% last year.
Oh, wow.
I had a client, someone I knew, and he was referred to me word of mouth. And when I tell you he was the best client, well, I'm going to say the best I've had. I got 2 other ones that are like my top 3, but he was definitely in my top 3, right? Responded to everything I needed, gave me the information, and it's not like that he did not fit the description for the jobs, because he did. He had everything that the job was looking for. Still didn't get the interview. That crushed my soul because I take this to heart. I'm not, again, money ain't nothing. I don't want the money from this. But it was just to give him the flow, give him how to situate his resume for the federal side, because he's all private sector. No military affiliation, never been a federal government employee. So he didn't have those hiring paths that he could apply for. So to be able to help him craft a masterpiece and know that he didn't get that job interview, I told my husband, okay, that's it, I'm done.
Well, you know, okay, don't beat yourself up bad about it, because, you know, I'm like, you know there's politics involved when it comes to all hiring decisions.
I know.
So, you know. I'm
that
like,
just hurt.
I know, I get it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're really rooting for this person or whatever. You knock down, you got all these dominoes, and all of a sudden it don't go all the way down. It just stops.
It stopped.
You're like, well, hold on. Why did that stop? It was set up for success.
Right.
But, you know, now, and I get it. You know, that's what, you know, we got to get ourselves in these positions where we can control all the power. But another topic.
Say that part.
You know, another topic for another day. Let everybody know how to get at you, how to, you know, inquire, things of that nature. How do you want them to be directed?
Sure. So the best way to get a hold of me is by my website, www.alishadbrown.com. That is ALISHA. dbrown.com. I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Instagram too, but not as much. But I am definitely on Facebook. You can go and you can look up Alisha Brown ER Consultant, or you can do the hashtag ADBrownConsults, CONSULTS. And you can also send me an email at info@alishadbrown.com.
Thank you, ma'am. I've enjoyed the time.
Yes, absolutely.
I really appreciate this. So yeah, make sure y'all going to support, especially if you're trying to get those federal jobs and have the best, I guess, route to success. Excuse me.
Yes.
I think my stomach again. It's like, yeah, you hungry over here.
That smoothie ain't holding you down.
Nice, you know. Hey, this breakfast, I gotta go do lunch. But y'all make sure y'all go and support it. And as always, y'all can download the app and continue to, you know, watch the show and all that stuff and like these interviews.
Я скрутился себе потом, я выдыхаю.
The best jam I have ever eaten.
Oh, wow.
I have that as a testimonial.
That's